Around the Table with Vickie. Just like gathering around the dinner table with loved ones and friends, we're here to share stories, insight, and inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Around the Table with Vickie. We hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you for listening. You know the drill. I am your co-host, Chris Runk, and to my right, as always, I get to call her mom. She is your host, Vickie Runk.
Hello, everybody. We are so excited about today's special episode.
Today, we've had some big episodes,
Yes.
Mom, but
Yeah.
I mean, the guest we brought in today is top notch.
That's exactly right.
And I know there's so many wonderful topics we want to discuss today, so I'm just going to jump right into it because I don't want to waste any time.
Let's go. Let's go.
She is a conservative political leader. She is a wife, a mother, an accomplished businesswoman. She is a Marine. She is the first African-American female elected to any statewide office. She is also the candidate that received the highest percentage of votes in the 2021 election. And this is really cool to say. She is the first female lieutenant governor of Virginia.
So cool. So cool.
We'd like to welcome to the show Winsome Earle-Sears.
Welcome, Winsome.
Oh, thank you so much. It's good to be with you, Vickie and Chris, and hello to your listeners.
That's right. So we have a lot of things we want to cover today, some of which are very exciting for me because I love a good woman that's going to stand up for what she believes in and then go to work for the people of Virginia. And that's exactly what you intend to do. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. I'm glad you started there because for too long, too many of us, and I had to put myself in it, but I guess that's the profession I'm in now, politician, have forgotten that we elect people from among us, not from above us. In fact, the president is no greater than you or I.
That's exactly
Think about
right,
that.
yeah.
And that's the beauty of America. And that's why, we've got to make sure America remains a great country because, folks, there is no other place to which to escape. There is no perfect country. And by the way, if you find a perfect country, don't you go because you're not perfect. You're going to destroy it. So we have to understand that there's always compromise, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that I view the people of Virginia is not as voters. I view them as the people we work for, but in a different way. And it's like I have a business and I'm looking for customers. And if you're looking for customers, you don't wait for the customer to come to you, do you? No, because you're trying to build your business. And so what we have to do is go out among the people and find out what do they want? How can we help? How can we let them know that these are the new things that we have done in Virginia? Do you know about them? Like the V3 program, where we will help to train your employees, where we have the VIPC, where we will help you if you have a good business idea, that we will help to seed that business, where there's just so much. If you're a veteran, we have the V3 program, the G3 and all we just have so many threes. We've got programs, but I'm finding that people don't know about them. So how are we serving you if we don't tell you? So
true.
So if we view the citizens of Virginia, or the residents of Virginia, I guess I should say, as customers, then we will go to them and find out, are we serving you well?
And that's what this administration has done. And what I love so much about you, and this is a little emotional for me to say, but you started, number one, by being an immigrant to the United States from Jamaica. So you didn't fall in love with Virginia first. You fell in love with America.
So my dad came to America August 11th of 1963. And it was just 17 days before Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech. And yet he decided that America was the place where he could restart his life. Even when, as I asked him, but why did you come? It was really bad for us. There were real water hoses and dog whistles. He said, because this is where the jobs and opportunities were. And what do you do with $1.75? Well, there's no place else to go but up. He took many jobs, whatever he could find, and used that money to put himself through school and start his education. So Then he came to Jamaica and got me. I was 6 years old. Of course, he'd been coming back and forth, but finally he said, time for me to come up. And 6 years old, I'm in school in New York, not learning a thing. And so I went back to Jamaica at 9 for education. Can you believe that? For education. And then when I returned, but I would come up every summer. And then right about the 9th grade, my dad asked me, do I want to come back permanently? And yeah. When I came back to school, guess what? They said that I didn't really have bio. I didn't really have chemistry. I didn't really have those things. It's because they're introduced in Jamaica early. So I aced all that. They didn't give me any credit for it. And then I was put in the honors program, etc. Why am I going on so much about education? It's because it is so important. Without a good education, there is no foundation for your life.
Absolutely.
There is no place, and your future is going to hit you, but it's going to hit you in the face.
And you've done a lot of work with education. Tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about what you've done in the past and then what you brought over the last 3 years to Virginia.
So when I was elected in 2001 to the House of Delegates, I brought a charter school bill. And this charter school bill was to help really higher ed institutions to be able to themselves start charter schools because no one knew if they would be eligible. So yes, they're eligible to do that. And yes, they will have immunity in the same way that other public schools would have, and because that was important, because if you're going to sue me for everything we've got, well, then they're not going to get into it. And then number 3, and I think the best part of the bill of the 3 things was to say you could no longer deny a charter school just right out of hand. You had to give a well thought out explanation as to why this charter school was going to fail. And so there were 5 charter schools back then, some 20, almost 22 years ago. And we have a grand total, Vickie, of 6 charter schools in Virginia.
Yeah.
My goodness
we
gracious.
have some work to do.
We have a lot of work to do because education will lift all boats. And this year, by the way, is the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education. And in my mind, it was about opportunity and options. It wasn't you're relegated and segregated in this school. What the parents were fighting for wasn't to get into the school building. It was what was inside the schools.
Absolutely.
The good school books, the updated school books, the ones that weren't falling apart. It was the lab equipment. It was the indoor plumbing, for goodness sake.
I know. Just the
that
simple
actually
things.
worked, the heating.
Yes.
And so we've made it all about one option in education. But parents want options. So, yes, we can do charter schools and magnet schools, but then what about those parents who want to homeschool, for example? Do you know the fastest growing segment of homeschoolers are Black parents? They want to have those options. And then if you want a hybrid, if you want a private school, a parochial school, you are the parent. You ought to make that decision.
And your vote counts. And let's talk a little bit about your opponent right now. She's running, and she has put her, bid in to be the next governor of Virginia. You've done this.
Yes.
You've worked hard, and you've been in those meetings. And as far as education and everything else goes, you've walked that road for the past 3.5 years. Tell us how important experience is going to be to Virginians in this next election.
One of the things we don't have to do is to figure out where I stand on the issues. You can see very well where I do, and you can see, as a matter of fact, where my opponent, she stands on the issues as well. She's very, very extreme left. If the earth were
and
flat.
we've seen where that's got our country the last 4 years. Are we any better off?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Let's not even go there.
Right.
We would be here all day.
That's
and
right.
next week. We have to win in Virginia. So this is for next year, of course, the Virginia governor's race in 2025. But, we keep hearing politicians talk about how they want to serve the people, how they want to help the people, and, give me that opportunity and I'll do that. Well, I've already proven I don't need to win a race to do any of that, because I've been a women's homeless shelter director for the women and their children, by the way. And I have had a men's ministry that I led for 2 years, and in the prison system. It was one of the best things I ever did, because when you're there and you're able to bring hope into lives that seem to have no hope, and to say, yes, you are incarcerated, but this can be your way up and out. This is bottom. There is no other way up but up.
That's right.
And if you take the programs, the courses that are available to you, then you will leave even with a skill. But we don't want to see you back here. You're a child of God, and your life has value. And then now, being where I am, of course, as I said, I was elected in 2001, and I was able to bring bills that help people. For example, we found that there were doctors who were killing people. And what do I mean by that? Well, they were working outside of the scope of their field, and they killed some patients in hospital A, moved on to hospital B, and it wasn't until hospital C, when even more people died, that it even got to the medical board. And so as a result of that, I remember saying, somebody ought to do something about this. I was so newly elected, I forgot, wait, that's you. You can do something, And I took on that huge project, and the people said, she's a rookie. What is she going to be able to do? But we did it because it was the right thing. And we worked with the medical industry, and we even found so many different boards that we were able to reform, 13 different medical boards, including the funeral home industry. So I'm used to doing the big work.
And you've been in the trenches and seen it yourself. So this isn't just some idea that you formed.
No.
You've really worked hard all across the state of Virginia. I've had the privilege of knowing you for a few months now, and I know that we were scheduled to do this just a few weeks ago, but you had to go to the hurricane relief portion of Virginia that got hit. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So, and actually last year, almost that same section of Southwest Virginia was flooded. And when out of the mouths of babes, Senator Hackworth and I, that's his district generally, and his 5-year-old, I think his granddaughter, 6 years old at the time, I asked her, have you seen the flood victims? And she said, I saw it on TV, but then Mama took me, and it was nothing like when Mama took me. And so from the mouths of babes, you can't just watch it on television. You've got to go see about the people. Right. You've got to go be among them, be in the muck and the mud, and go, yes, there's mold now all in their houses, and all of their earthly possessions are out. Either if it didn't get swept away by the river, it's out on the lawn, and it's gone. And what do you do, especially if the person is 75, 80 years old?
Absolutely.
And, all it could do at the time was hug some necks and cry with them.
Yes.
But then we were able to bring supplies. We were able, for example, to get Rubbermaid to bring rubber gloves and boots and pails and mops and just things to help them. And then FEMA was part of that. And here we go again. The very next year, here we are, the same thing, but even worse, because we have a river. It's the only river in I believe, on this side of the world. It flows from south to north, and everything that you saw, it did all the terrible destruction that happened in North Carolina. Well, it flowed up into Virginia,
right
south, flowed south into Virginia, bringing all those houses, all that debris, and that's one major reason why we were destroyed. We even found homes on the mountain that were destroyed. And you're thinking to yourself, how can a mountain flood? Everything rolls down, except if there are two creeks on either side, and they rose, and they're in a nice funnel, and it rose above the banks and moved houses off foundations. It was bad. So we have worked incredibly with FEMA. Governor Youngkin has in fact put somebody absolutely in charge of all of that help to make sure that we can try to make folks as whole as possible. We're looking at our insurance industry. How does that really work? What's Florida doing? Because if you don't have to reinvent the wheel,
That's right.
then we can be quick about this. You know, who has gone through this experience? What have they done so that we can put those same policies and procedures in place? The governor has been able to get FEMA here much, much quicker than ordinarily would have happened. I mean, this is what, you know, if you have people who have been in business, for example, who now run for office, we know how to get things
That's
done
right.
because we know if you don't tend to your customers, I just said it again, you will have no business.
That's right.
So you best be, as we say, get to getting.
That's right.
And
Get
we're
it
still
done.
there. Yes.
So having said all that, one of the things I really want to point out is that you are real. And you said here before us, and as our listeners are listening to you, you have done the work already. And it's your desire to now take all of the great work that our great Governor Youngkin has done right here in the state of Virginia. Virginians are resilient and they love their state. And that's one of the things I've seen is that we may differ in the way we think about politics, but when it comes down to it, we are all Virginians and we unite and we help one another.
We have to.
And from the apple orchards to the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains, we are Virginia. And I've watched you just love this state. You've wrapped your arms around it and just loved on these people, the people that have less, the people that need to be represented. Like you are a great representative for our state. And continuing on with wanting to make sure that Virginia stays in the status that it's so rightfully earned when Youngkin came on.
Yes,
with
we are
one
the
top,
number one state for conducting business. And we got there because we were no nonsense. We made promises that Chris, we were going to bring Virginia to the forefront because we were tired of losing businesses to, and we love these other states, but Tennessee and Florida, Georgia, Texas, North and South Carolina, we were losing business to them because when we ran in 2021, the businesses said we were either not coming to Virginia or not expanding in Virginia, or we were picking up stakes and leaving because the regulations against them were so onerous. And that's because the Democrats had total control of the House, the Senate, the Attorney General, the Lieutenant Governorship, and the governor's mansion. They had total control and made a mess of it. And so they were wanting...
And we don't want to go back.
We cannot go back. I remember the times we were just at each other's throats. Remember CRT? And the Democrats kept telling us that's a fallacy and it's a fake information you're feeding to the voters. We're not engaging in that. We're not, but they were. We have receipts, as the kids say, which shows that, for example, in Loudoun County, the schools had paid over $500,000 just about to bring in CRT professionals to teach the teachers how to teach CRT. Even on the Department of Education's website, our state Department of Education website, the superintendent had recommended books on how to teach CRT. So why are you telling the voters a lie? And so CRT now says you have oppressed and the oppressor. And of course, apparently Black people and other minorities, we're the oppressed. We cannot think for ourselves. And so we need government because white folks are the oppressors. And so look, we
That's
cannot
no way
go
to
back
unite
to
a state,
that.
by the way.
No,
Yes,
no,
yes.
it's division. And it helps certain people to push their agenda through. It creates chaos. It doesn't make us neighbors. And that's why when people say, well, how does your faith inform how you operate? Well, number one, we got to love our neighbors as we love ourselves, don't we?
Absolutely.
And then I've got to be careful that I don't hate you. I can maybe not like the things you stand for, your policies, because your policies are not good. But I'm not supposed to hate you as a person. You know, I'm supposed to find a way to work with you, to get along with you.
To connect.
And we cannot go back. So when it comes to how we love on each other, we've got to make sure that we don't elect someone who's going to divide us. Because, you know, Dr. King said, hate cannot drive out hate.
That's right.
Only love can do that. And then, of course, and I think firstly, we can't talk about economic development without talking about law enforcement and support for them and our Department of Corrections personnel. And why do I say that? I'm so glad you asked, Chris. That was a good question. It's because if we are not safe in our homes, in our businesses, we have no business. Our law enforcement is there to ensure that our customers are safe, that our communities are safe. And if we drive them out of that profession because, we come against them all the time, we drive morale down, then they're going to leave. And then what now? Who do we call when our homes are being broken into?
I've seen a tremendous push here in the Lynchburg area for hiring for our local police. And it's been an absolute eye-opening experience because there's not a lot of people that's wanting to go into that field right now.
Unfortunately.
And then we start hearing, Christopher and I watched on the news just recently of so many schools right here in our local area that are having to be closed because of bomb threats and having to be released from school. Well, they can't learn.
No.
And when they are in school, they're afraid. Parents are on edge. And if we don't have that law enforcement in our local communities that can be there at a moment's notice, that can stand up and say, we are no longer going to stand for the bullying in the schools, for the threats, and then work with the local government and state government to do something about it. So I appreciate you bringing that up because I know it's something that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks.
Oh, absolutely. So the governor put in his budget to have the school safety resource officers. And unfortunately, the other side of the political aisle took it out of the budget, and the governor said, "No, we're not compromising on this. We have to have safety and security in our school systems." It is unfortunate, but that's where we live.
That's where
now.
we are.
That's where society is, and so we've got to make sure that the kids, yes, they have a good education, but that they have an environment to work with. And I want to say one last thing about our law enforcement. Yes, I understand that there are bad apples, but there are bad apples in every profession, Vickie.
That's right.
Bad lawyers, bad doctors, teachers, etc. Bad policemen. Well, we just get rid of the bad apples and we work with the honorable ones. But you got to have them if you're going to have safety, security, economic development, etc., etc.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking about Christopher, Sheriff Jimmy Ayers. He retired 7 years ago and came and worked for Youngkin Pratt as the Director of Development. And because of his county needing some leadership, went back out of retirement.
Oh, boy.
And just got reelected to be the sheriff of Amherst County. And now I just call him every day and say, hey, you gotta ease up. I see you on Facebook chasing these people down 29. You got to stop. Yeah, can you sit still? You're supposed to be in the office. But no, you know what? He's out doing it with his people.
Isn't that
and that's
awesome?
the kind of sheriffs we need all.
He's sacrificing. He's
Yes.
sacrificing. And, our law enforcement, they don't know, sheriffs, police, even Department of Corrections, they don't know if they put that vest on, are they coming back?
Are they coming back?
They don't know that. And that's why we've got to honor them.
Right. And I say that too, because it reminds me of, you can sit back on your couch and just be quiet. I kind of shared with you that it's easier that way, right? But when you stand up because you love Virginia, you love this country, and you've got a little something to say about how things are being done, it's time to get up and rise up.
Yeah. I also, for you, it's the couch. For me, I've always said, hey, at some point you're shouting down from the bleacher seats. Y'all got to come down and jump into the arena where the action is. You're the one who's called to come and help. And it's the Esther 4:14?
Yes.
That says, sister girl, because they were Southern Jews. When Mordecai said that to her.
Love it.
Sister girl, honey bun, don't think you're safe because you're in the palace. It'll come for you.
It'll come for you.
It'll come for you. So don't be quiet. Don't stay silent. I'm going to quote Dr. King again. He said, it is not so much that I'll remember my enemies' insults. It's the silence of my friends. The ones who said nothing. So come and take the heat. This great country of ours, we have because people were willing to take the heat.
Absolutely.
They were willing to die. And in fact, so many signers of the Declaration of Independence lost everything, including their families, including their own lives. And, we don't really know so much about history. We've got to really get it taught better.
Mm-hmm.
The Black Robed Regiment, right here coming up 81, going to Woodstock, is where the pastor there, Muhlenberg, he opened his robes and said, "Who's coming with me?" after preaching from Ecclesiastes, there's a time for war and there's a time for peace. And he had been commissioned maybe 4 days earlier by George Washington. And I believe he began the 8th Regiment in against the British. So it started, believe it or not, with faith believers. And so we cannot absent ourselves from the public square. We all need to be there.
Right. And Christopher, I know from you being a young entrepreneur that it's important to you that our industry and our business stay without so much regulation that we can actually help people. Can you talk a little bit about that with Lieutenant Governor?
Absolutely. I mean, the amount of red tape that we have to go through in the healthcare industry in the world, it's really hard to service our customers at times. We're limited. And I know Mom's reached out to Governor Youngkin several times about helping additional scholarship funds for our CNAs. So just on that level, I mean, thank you, and thank you to the governor for all those incredible actions you put forth. And even on that topic, like what are some of your greatest accomplishments that you're proud of over the last 3 years that have either taken a tremendous amount of work to get there or that you're just extremely like some passion projects?
Yeah. So, we have, goodness, where do we start? We've done so much. We have, in this budget, we have put in monies unheard of, really almost $400 million for childcare. Because have you wondered, like me, where is everybody?
Yeah.
We need people in the workforce, and
yes,
they're absent. Mm-hmm. I mean, we go through a Twilight Zone episode, or what has happened to our workforce? And so we've got to, as you know, grow the workforce. And so we've put money into the CNA program, the nursing program. We especially needed nurses, and so we've done that. And then, of course, we have put money in for, and I think we talked about this before, where if you're a business owner and you want to, bring in new trainees, we will help you to train that workforce, even specific to your particular needs. So even if you have CNAs, we will train them even further for you. And then, of course, goodness, safety and security, just making sure that our law enforcement know that they are, we care about them. And then, goodness, I mean, there's just so much. Our teachers, we have given them 13% increase from the time that we were elected until now, unheard of again, just because we've been losing our teachers.
Yeah.
And so that's why we also want to say, we want the teaching profession to know that we care.
Yeah.
And so it's an all of the above approach to education. If you public school, private school, homeschool, hybrids, whatever.
And that parents' voices matter.
Yes, absolutely, because these are my children first.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know I had the privilege of sitting through one of my first Board of Health meetings just a couple weeks ago, just elected to the Board of Health. And just watching all of that and hearing what all Governor Youngkin has done in his time there and what you will continue to do.
Absolutely.
As he exits and you come in. It's exciting for me as a business owner in the healthcare world, but it also gives me great comfort when I sit in those meetings and I hear the public come back with questions and we're able to solve issues, that we are working for a government here in the state of Virginia that is run by such a great man, and that you've been right by his side. It is easy for me to give of my time because of that. So I want you to know how much I appreciate you today, you and Governor Youngkin, and all the great work that he has done and what you will continue to do.
Yes, we have to make sure that we cement our gains, that businesses know that, no, we do mean to continue the good work. We want you to come to Virginia. We want you to help build Virginia. We will help you to do that. and the other side, unfortunately, they will put back all the regulations that we've been able to get rid of. And who needs that? I mean, as a business owner, how many more pieces of paper do I have to file that you're not going to read, but it makes you feel good, and it did nothing to my productivity, nothing to my bottom line? And that's why I think if we have more people who are business minded, we understand what it looks like. Goodness, I've had to figure out how I was going to make payroll some days when I had my business, just starting out. And if you've never had to do that, that's the kind of
experience we need.
Yeah. If you've never had to do that, then you don't understand. And so no, we cannot file another piece of paper.
Yeah.
No, this doesn't do any good. And we're in competition with these other states. Let's not drive them away. They are the job creators. They are the ones who help to build the roads, the bridges, the schools that we need, the quality of life
that we need.
We cannot bite the hand.
Let's continue to grow Virginia bigger and better than ever together.
Well, Winsome, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been a thrilling talk, and we appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I want to say one last thing. Nelson Mandela said, "I never lose. I either win or I learn."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to do. We have to learn. We must always, what did I do wrong this time? How can I not do that again? And how can I make sure that everybody has a seat at the table? Because if we ask ourselves, what would a parent want from me sitting at the Board of Education?
Absolutely.
What question would they ask of this school superintendent? You at your board there, if you say, well, what would who would you say?
A nurse.
A nurse want
from me.
From me. A traveling nurse, different from a CNA, maybe. Whatever it is, how can I help them? How can I be that voice for them?
Absolutely.
That's what we need in
Virginia. What a voice you have been and will continue to be.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to leave you with a quote, and then I'm going to let Lieutenant Governor talk to you for a few seconds. This was taken from 100 Best Quotes of Leadership with Forbes magazine, and I chose this one today. A leader is best when people barely know she exists. When her work is done, she aims to fulfill. They will say, "We did this ourselves." That's a true leader. And also leaving you today from Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish.
Yes.
And I know you have a great vision for our great state going into your campaign in the next few months here, hitting it hard. I want you to know that we here at Around the Table with Vickie support you, love you, and so glad to call you friend. Now look right there in that camera and tell Virginia why they need to vote for you next year.
Hello, Virginia. My name is Winsome Earle-Sears, and I'm your Lieutenant Governor. I'm hoping that you will consider me as your next governor in 2025. We need to continue all the good work that we've accomplished thus far. We have brought businesses, the job creators, to Virginia. We've brought hope to our children and their children, because it's never always about us. It's about the future. And a people without hope, they perish. And our children must know that there will come a time when it will be their job to take their place in society. And so they must preserve America for the next generation. Their job must be to make the darkness tremble. You brought me a wonderful life here in America when my father came with only $1.75. And now here I sit as Lieutenant Governor in our great Virginia. That just shows that America will continue to thrive, not just survive. And we've got to keep the good times, as they say, rolling. But you must play your part, because it's not ever just up to those of us in office. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people is what America has always been about. And we must keep her.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, I'm Vickie Runk with Around the Table with Vickie. See you next time.